Hey, it's Michael Kaplan from the New York Post. I just did a pretty interesting story centered around friends of Jean-Michel Basquiat. He was like a sort of superstar painter of the 1980s. His paintings now sell for over $100 million in some instances. And he unfortunately died of a heroin overdose in the 80s. You know, he was already super successful, but it was before everything blew up. And these people talk to me that they're upset about his estate selling off the rights to like what they view as things that dilute the art. There are scented candles with like Basquiat imagery on them. There's Basquiat Barbie dolls. There's Basquiat booze. Then there's a Basquiat welcome mat, which really got people incensed because they were like, you know, it's almost as if you're wiping your shoes on, you know, this guy's art, and he cared about his art more than he cared about anything else in his life, apparently. And they're sort of up in arms about the art being used in a negative way. Another thing that really rankled was there's a whiskey from Great Jones Distillery, and the guy died of a drug overdose, so it's like a substance which kind of didn't make people thrilled. Many of whom I talked about actually were former heroin addicts themselves, because, you know, they hung around that scene. The idea that A, it was booze, which, you know, is not exactly healthy, and B, that it's called Great Jones, and he died in an apartment on Great Jones Street in Manhattan. So, you know, there's nothing anybody could do about it. The state is entitled to do what it wants, but they wanted their voices heard and to be able to say, you know, show some respect for the art and don't dilute it and keep it, you know, pure as it is. I actually do have one good Basquiat story. When I first moved to Manhattan, I was living in an apartment building on West 23rd Street right next to the Chelsea Hotel. So most of the apartments were studios. And a woman down the hall became friendly, I guess, with Jean-Michel Basquiat. This is before he was super famous, but he was famous enough. I went in her apartment and she had a door he painted in the apartment that he gave to her. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, it wasn't worth, you know, tens of millions of dollars at the time, but it was still a pretty cool thing to have. So then I go back there, you know, days later, and the door is gone. I'm like, what happened to the door? And she goes, oh, Jean-Michel came and took it away. He didn't like where I was keeping it in the apartment. And it was a pretty small apartment, so I don't know where she could have been keeping it that he didn't like. But, I mean, I guarantee that she wishes she still had it. I mean, it'd be worth, I don't know, certainly more than $10 million now. But c'est la vie, as Jean-Michel might say.